Wagwan Generals, welcome back to the Shift Gear podcast. I was actually going to do the intro in Chinese, but I kind of forgot to do the translation before I hopped on, so my bad. Today we got a fun one. We were kind of in that like limbo period of Pokemon where there's nothing really going on, so we decided it's a great time to bring back the history episodes. It's been a hot minute since the gentleman. What was the last one we did?
I have no idea, to be honest. It has been too long, but
Yeah, it's been like probably a year, I think, right?
I don't know if it's been a year, but I'm sure it's been like maybe like 6 months or something.
Crazy, man. We're slacking.
We're working too hard anymore. We're too serious, making sure that people get their meta updates, all that. But yeah, I don't know the last time we've had this long of a break between majors. I mean, we had the Champions League in Japan on the weekend, but I guess a TPCI major. Don't really know when the last time we had this long of a break
dead
was.
time, man. I think it's it's weird because it's not really like Christmas yet, so it's like you could definitely fit one more in this weekend if they wanted to. They just chose not to.
Yeah, the past couple of years, Toronto has been this weekend, I think, like around this general time, you know?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. It is weird that it's gonna be after Christmas, but I kind of like it because it means you can just like lock in a little bit more on what Toronto is and stuff. But it's gonna suck a little bit more for people coming in because you'll get all the Christmas hoopla.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun being in Toronto in the Christmas time.
Anyways, now they just get cold weather and no Christmas vibes.
Yeah, no Toronto Raptors NBA League Cup action either, which sucks.
Oh.
So what we got this week is the list of the most toxic cards in history. This one's gonna be fun. I think so we decided on this last night. Like Kieran called me at like 11:30. I was at the bar and I just like we were just like spitballing ideas and we landed on this somehow. So this was a list that we created in the last like 3 hours, I guess, since we woke up. So this list is imperfect, is what I would say. We were generally more prepared for history videos than this, but I think it's going to make it that much more fun. So it's all good. I already know mine is complete ass. Like mine is horrible, but just the way we kind of like decided this criteria. So toxic cards, quote unquote. So cards that were either standalone cards or used in a combo to basically create toxic, like unenjoyable board experiences, I guess is the way I'd put it. That's kind of how we came up with it. This is across all eras. So like we did our research. There's already a couple cards that I know I missed that Kieran brought up to begin with. We have 10 cards plus some honorable mentions. Did I miss anything?
No, I think there might be some personal bias on this list too. Like I'm sure a couple of the cards I put, I'm like, oh, I hate this card. So it's on my list.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. So we have the lists up. We have each other's lists on our phones. We haven't seen each other's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen each other's choices yet, so that's going to add to the whole mystery of the whole thing, which is going to be fun. Normally, we know each other's and we kind of like build the slides before, but this time we're just going in. All right, we're going in. You ready? Should we just get into this?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's just get into it.
All right, let's go.
Start with honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. We'll have these all on the screen for you guys. We'll put all the honorable mentions in on one slide, probably, I guess, Kieran?
Yeah, sure. Or when I edit it, I'll just decide what I'm doing.
Yeah, because we're looking at them one at a time, so we gotta just decide on that. Maybe that's something we should have done before.
I'll just pop it on the screen one at a time. Maybe it's fine.
All right, cool.
And then we'll say what the cards do out loud for our audio listeners as well, so you guys can follow along.
How many honorable mentions do you have? How many times?
I think I put 6. I think I put a breakpoint where it says where the top 10 starts though. So actually, I have it open here so I can also see.
Okay, yeah, I might need you to walk me through yours. This is great.
Okay, well, actually, you and I have the first. Our honorable mention is the same for the first one.
There we go. Okay, so let's start with the first one. We got energy removal. This is a card that existed way back in the day, and I think we can like maybe take turns providing a rationale for these. This one for me at least was in an era where there was like so many broken cards that it just felt like it wasn't really as broken as it seems right now. I think had this been printed like 4 years later, this is number 1 in our list, but because it existed in an era with all these other broken cards, it kind of fell down. Yeah, anything to add to that one?
Well, yeah, so energy removal, straight up, just choose an energy card attached to your opponent's Pokemon, discard it. So it's like Crushing Hammer without having no flip. So if you've ever played like any of the base to fossil or like base set formats, like this card's like a staple in almost every deck just because of how broken it is. And like honestly, any card that's like slow and takes a lot of energy is like almost unplayable because of this card. Because it takes too long. Like Charizard, for example, is like pretty much unplayable. And there's even like another one called Super Energy Removal. That's like if you discard an energy from one of your Pokemon, you get rid of 2 on your opponents. That's also played a lot in this format that I also considered, but I gave the nod to the OG Energy Removal.
Card's nasty, bro.
Yeah, the card is definitely insane. It could definitely be in the top 10, but like you said, it's kind of like base set. They're still learning the game a little bit, the designers. So I guess I put an honorable mention. So
I just can't believe that anybody ever thought at some moment in time this was a good idea to print. Like that is so crazy to me. Like it's so counterintuitive to what you want to achieve in the game that it's like I don't know. Anyways, whatever. I'll stop ranting. On honorable mentions number 2, we can start with yours. Maybe we got cessation crystal.
yes,
You can
yeah.
provide your rationale on this one.
I mean, the reason I put this honorable mention is like it's toxic, but it's also like kind of a fair card. Like it's not like
Okay.
it's like well designed. I think at the same time. So cessation crystal was a tool, and like as long as it was on your active Pokemon, each Pokemon has no abilities. And it also could not be attached to Pokemon EX. So you had to attach it to non-rule box, I guess, to make it like compared to modern day. So that balances it a little bit. But like the card is insane, right? Like ability lock on like a tool card. Through the history of the game, like we've gone through like cards like Garbodor, which was like an extremely powerful card. There's some more ability lock actually in my top 10 list. Ability lock is one of the most strongest things in the game. Being able to do it on a tool is just nuts. And I think the reason I say, like I said, like it's not in my top 10 is just because it affects both players. And like it has to be on a non-rule box. But like if you've ever played like any of the formats or like RSPK where this card exists, it's like super frustrating when your opponent like gets an early cessation crystal. And just like shuts off like all your abilities. But there is counterplay because it is a tool, so you can play stuff like I guess there's a card like Tool Scrapper back then that you can play to like get rid of this. So there is counterplay, but it's a very frustrating card to go up against.
I think this is where our lists are going to be kind of different. So like we didn't like properly establish what our criteria was before this, but I think it makes it all the more fun. So like I didn't put any ability lockers on my list because I just like kind of chalk that up to like part of the game. Like that was just like kind of one of those things that's been like staple enough through the years that I've just like considered it to be part of the game. And like same with item lockers for the most part. There's one item locker that I do have on my list, but the other ones I was just like, all right, whatever, it's cool. So like yeah, we'll definitely have some differences. This card is disgusting, so I'm glad we got this out of the way early, and this is one that I actually forgot about. So good job.
Nice. You want to do your next honorable mention?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so you had Lugia V-Star.
Yeah, I got some hate for this one. Personal bias. The reason why I have this card on there is just because I feel like the card wasn't thought through. I don't think it was a toxic card, and I guess I'm kind of going against my own rationale here, but I don't think it was a toxic card. I just think it wasn't thought through, and it created toxic situations because the card was so good. That card just being in the same format as like unconditional rainbow energies, like when it started with Aurora and Quick Ball, so easy to discard the chops. Obviously, access to basically any attacker in the game. I don't think we've ever seen a deck like that before that operated so seamlessly in that area. So for that reason, it makes my list. I don't think it's like you look at the card and there's nothing like toxic about it, quote unquote. But I guess it's one of those entries where it's like the cards surrounding it and what created it as a whole as a deck is what kind of turns it into like that toxic realm for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Like it's like when we made our list of like best decks ever, it was that I think we actually put number 1. It's just like it was so much better than like everything else in the format. It did gatekeep a lot of things because it had like you had evil talls, like you couldn't play things that you couldn't play like control like that easily. Like you had to play like the Mewtwo V in your deck with like a lot of counters to that, or like it had like Stoutlands, like you couldn't play like little guys because it had a way to like prize manipulate. It had like Amazing Rare Raikou to also like punish like single prize strategies. So yeah, the deck just had answers to everything just because of how flexible it was with all like the rainbow energies and stuff in format.
I think part of it, part of the reason for me too that I really didn't like it is that it did feel like opening hand simulator sometimes. Like you just start double chops ultra ball and you're like just off to the races. Like it didn't feel like the deck took a whole lot of, not agency is not the right word, but it felt like the player that started the hotter was always in an advantageous position, which I guess is true across all Pokemon, but more so magnified with a card like this where your combo piece is so easy to get.
Yeah, I agree. It was too easy because you had Evolution Incense, Ultra Ball, Aurora Energy, like research, like it was almost impossible to whiff turn 2 chops. So definitely a fair one there.
Not my favorite. All right, okay. Round to yours.
Next one I put Laser.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Put Hypnotoxic Laser. I mean, we've talked about this card on the channel before. This is like probably one of the most iconic item cards of all time, especially in black and white. There was also a stadium that went with it where it was called Burbank City Gym, where it made poison put 2 extra counters, so you would do 3 damage. But the toxic part of this card is like also why I think it's a poorly designed card. Was the second part of it was flip a coin if heads, your opponent's active is now asleep. It's just like one of those things where like it's really unnecessary, and like a lot of games would come down to like someone would flip heads on the laser, your opponent flips tails, you stay asleep on like a 25% chance, like the game is just over. So it's just like really stupid, and like there was item locking strategies that you could combine with this card, and then you can't even play Switch or anything. So It was just like the poison by itself was like whatever, it's just like a damage mod, but like the sleep part of the card, I think in my opinion made this like a toxic card. And ironically, it's called Hypnotoxic Laser.
Yeah, this card is actually on my list, so I won't touch on it too much. I'll save a little bit for that moment.
Cool. Okay. And then actually, I'll do another one of my honorable mentions because I have more than you, I think. So then my next one was Toad, which kind of goes with the laser. So Seismitoad is another card like in the XY era, I think is iconic. So its attack was, it's kind of like Badoo actually. Its attack was Quaking Punch. Takes 2 colorless energies for 30 damage. Your opponent can't play any item cards. And I mean, this was like, I don't know, like turn 1 item lock whenever you went second, kind of like how like Badoo operates as well. And like you just played it with all these toxic cards like Hypnotoxic Laser, and there was a lot of broken supporters, which is like the defining, I think, aspect of the XY era. So yeah, this was like definitely a gatekeeper for a lot of decks. And like there was a lot of partners that Seismitoad had. Like you had Crobat to add more damage, you had like Garbodor to like lock abilities, you locked abilities and you locked items. And just like it was like very easy to like use this card since there was double colorless in the format. So you could really just item lock your opponent the entire game. Your opponent could literally go like 1 turn of items for the entire game. So that's why I kind of put Seismitoad on my list of honorable mentions here. Like it was never too
on my
broken.
Actual list.
So yeah, okay, nice. So you'll have it on your list. Okay, so
I'll
we'll
leave some stuff, but yeah, there are even more cards that went with it too, like cards like Rough Seas and like Slurpuff and stuff like that. Just made it disgusting. So we can touch on this when we get to it, maybe. But yeah, definitely on my list as well. So we're seeing eye to eye so far.
Okay, cool. And then your last honorable mention, Anil, you had Unfair Stamp, a current card actually.
Yeah, I wanted to have some current representation in there. Unfair Stamp is to me exactly what the card name is. I feel like it's really just not fair. I think in a format like now it's okay because you can get away with playing cards like that because there's so much onboard draw in the format that it's fine. Like Dracloak, Mew, Fez, whatever. So many ways to draw out of Unfair Stamp, but I think this card released in the wrong era could have been disastrous. I still think in this era it is pretty like toxic. I think there's a lot of you don't see it as much these days, but I think when the card just came out and like Straight Pult was a thing, like Zard was playing it. There's so many games that were won. I think Guardy was playing at one point. So many games were won by just like playing Unfair Stamp at a bad time and just having your opponent brick. And I feel like that's just not a good way to go about building the game and stuff. And like obviously these cards do exist, but they're normally a little bit more balanced, like Roxanne or Iono. Like they're a little bit more balanced. They go both ways. It's a supporter for turn. Unfair Stamp, I could literally Arven for my Unfair Stamp after my opponent knocks out a Badoo. Item lock them and stamp them again. It's just like I just thought the card was kind of stupid. Yep. And I remember when it first came out, we were freaking out a little bit on Shift here. I feel like it was maybe a little bit overblown, but and I think we do get some things wrong sometimes. I don't think that was wrong. I think reading that card for what it is, like that it warranted that freak out. But yeah, it definitely wasn't as bad as we thought it would be.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is like there's so many A specs they printed this time around that I guess it has to compete with some of the other ones. Whereas I think maybe like when the A specs were first coming out, like I was just used to black and white where they printed like 10 and like only 2 of them were like good. So I was just like, okay, well, if you print the high power level ones, but yeah, I guess now we have so many good ones. But I think that's a good shout because like like it feels really bad to like just get stamped and just like lose the game on the spot. So
exactly,
for sure. I think I have 1 or 2 more honorable mentions. Okay, I put Pokemon Catcher from Black and White.
Nice.
So I mean, this card also existed in base set as Gust of Wind, but I thought it was more toxic during the Black and White era. I mean, just the option to have boss's orders as an item card was like insane. It would snowball the game a lot. If you're playing from ahead, like you can just do this. And there's also a card called Junk Arm, which was discard 2 cards in your hand, get an item from your discard into your hand. So in theory, you could play 8 Pokemon Catcher. Like it was basically impossible to whiff Gust. You could attack on your first turn back then as well. So I just thought this was stupid for the game. Like this was just like a dumb card. Like it was too good in my opinion. So that's why I put it.
I agree. It was on my honorable mentions list as well. And I ended up removing it just because I thought that it was like, so the first part that you touched on, like, yeah, it existed with Gust of Wind. So I was like, okay, maybe it's not as like game breaking as I thought. But it was broken. Like it's just disgusting. I don't think it was ever a good idea. I hope that we will never touch this card again. As a guaranteed Gust option, but with Pokemon, you never know. So I think he summed it up pretty well.
They had to nerf this card like a year or 2 after it came out too, right? To the flip that we know it as now. So I think I have one more.
Too good.
I have one more honorable mention. I put Radiant Greninja as an honorable mention.
Interesting. Okay.
I think like this card like gate kept a lot of like single prize decks when it came out, especially when you combine it with like Palkia V-Star back in the day. And then even when like Lost Box played this, or Chempal played this, like Moonlight Shuriken was just such a broken attack And I think the other reason I consider it toxic was like it was like almost like too good of a Radiant that it was like almost none of the other Radiants got to see play because like you kind of just had to play Greninja in your deck. So that's why it's an honorable mention. I don't think it's like too crazy, but I do think like this card was too good in my opinion. I think they should have not given it Moonlight Shuriken. I think it should have just been like concealed cards. This attack should have just been useless. And I think it would have been a lot more balanced in my opinion.
I actually have a differing opinion on this one. I actually think this card was good for the game overall. My reason being is because I think it enabled a lot of decks. Like I know it disabled a lot of decks and gatekept a lot, but I think it also enabled like a lot of like archetypes that wouldn't exist otherwise. And it also helped like skilled decks get better. Like so, like I take Lost Box as an example. Like Lost Box like would probably struggle to exist without this card. And like decks like Roaring Moon and like stuff like that, like random cards, even Gardevoir got a good boost when it was like just starting up before it was like super broken. So like I agree with you. I think it was too good. But I don't know if it was too good in like a toxic way. I feel like it just like enabled decks all across the board and like because it was so splashable, it like almost makes me feel like it wasn't as toxic just because like a lot of these cards on this list, you look at it, you're like, okay, my opponent can play this, but I cannot. Therefore, I'm at a distinct disadvantage. This card I almost feel like is different because every deck can play this in theory, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, like I feel like it's a good card to have on here. I think it's definitely very, very good. I'm like, I'm on the borderline of if it's like toxic or just really good.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's definitely a fair assessment. I think that was my that was my last honorable mention.
List starts now. Let's go, baby. Here we go.
All right, so we'll start with you because I guess we went through my last two.
Well, we can go at the same time, so we can advance our slides at the same time. We'll both look at them, and then we'll have our reactions. But yeah, we can start with mine. Okay.
So do you want me to flip my slide and you look at it, or do you want me to just go to yours?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you can just flip it. Yeah. Okay. So you have Stantler. Do you want to start with yours?
Sure. Okay. I mean, I play a lot of RSPK. Like, I don't play as much anymore, but during COVID, I would like literally play like every day. And like this card is like the most annoying card ever in that format. So its second attack is literally has 2 energy. It's called Push Away for 20. And it's like you look at your opponent's hand, you choose a trainer card you find there, and discard it. So I mean, like that's pretty good, right? Like, and like the format is like slower, right? It takes longer to set up. So like you can like your opponent can just like do Push Away like infinite amount of times. And also like you can play Cessation Crystal with Stantler, so you can like ability lock to block your opponent from like drawing cards, and then you can like push away. And then if they have the card to get rid of your Cessation Crystal, you can discard it. So like a lot of times you just like control your opponent's hand with this. You don't get to play the game. It's like super frustrating. And it's one that like it's like tier 1 in RSPK. I mean some people debate if it's tier 1, but I think it's tier 1. So it's just like really, really annoying to like play against this card. So and then like it's in a deck called Railer is the main one, and like there's a Rayquaza where it like attacks for like less energy and it like starts sniping your stuff on your board. So it's just an annoying card. This is what I'm saying. It's one of the cards like I don't like playing against, so I put it on my list.
Yeah.
And I just think hand control in general is a little toxic, and I have some other hand control cards on my list as well. So we're gonna get further down.
Yeah. This is a good shout, actually. I didn't think about this card to be that toxic, but I guess it is, isn't it? And like, I think if you asked 99 or 100 people for this, like their list of the top 10 toxic cards, I think maybe 99% of them don't put this on, but it's a great shout. Like, I think because you play so much the old format, you realize this more, and like you get rid of like that whole like recency bias of like this card not being a thing for the last 21 years. So yeah, no, I think this is a great show, and like that's definitely very toxic when you combine it with Cessation Crystal, and the fact that I like tool removal wasn't an item back then, like Windstorm and stuff, right? So yeah, it's a good shout.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have that one. I'll go to mine real quick. So mine was Welder.
That's
a card that I thought, a card that I think you and I are aligned on. Like we think it just broke the game. Like
it's one of my least favorite cards ever.
Yeah, like it's got to be up there as I don't know. And there are a lot of people who love this format. And if you love this format, no gripes to you. Like shout out to you. But I was not one of those people who like this format. It basically turned the game into like just an RNG like Welder 2 energies brick fest. And like what would happen is like these Reshizard mirrors or like Mewtwo mirrors often came down to do you have Welder plus 2 fire energies, right? And like that card advanced the game state. Like the fact that it said attach to and then draw was ridiculous. And then they also just printed a stupid amount of support for this card. Fire Crystal, Giant Hearth. There was another one too, Fiery Flint. Like all these cards are just nuts. And not to mention the best attacker in the format was a fire type. And you had Blacephalons, you had Reshizard, you had Heatran, you had Turtonator. Like it was just a fire onslaught. And I feel like this card really ruined the game. And like I don't know where the line of like toxicity comes from with this card. I just think it was too good.
No, I agree. There was like some like Twitter trend a while ago where like you put your least favorite card, and I actually put Welder plus like V2 Mew Tag Team because
Yeah.
I actually hated that combo so much. It
Yeah.
just snowballed the game too much, and like yeah, whoever got the first Welder off, it just felt like almost always won the game, for sure.
Yeah.
And like
Shout out Weldio though.
yeah, shout out Weldio for sure. Actually, when I was making my list of like cards, like almost every card,
Yeah.
like I think half the cards are from like this era of like the Sun and Moon
Oh,
Tag
really?
Team era ish. Yeah. And like I limited how many I put from that era. Otherwise, my list would have just been like me hating on the tag team era. But there is lots. I think I limited myself to only picking 2 tag teams.
Okay.
But I agree. Welder is actually a great pick, and anyone who played back then understands why this card was so toxic. So it doesn't look toxic because we had like Gardenias or something recently, and that card never saw any play. But Welder with all the tools and what it enabled, definitely super toxic.
Gardenia, I just don't think have the tools. Like it wasn't.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like,
yeah. So okay, here, let's do like snake draft type of thing. So you do your number 9 next. What's your number 9? This is the card I was actually considering. I didn't put it on my list though.
Yeah, so mine was Power Spray, my number 9. I think this card is. I was gonna say fair, and then I stopped myself. I don't know if it's fair. I think it's hard to set up at the right times. Requires you to play a certain archetype in order to use it. Obviously, you need to have the SPs on the board. So the card reads like you need to have. I think it's like what 3 SPs on the board. Yeah, if you have 3 Pokemon SPs on the board, you can play this card. Basically, during your opponent's turn, when they use an ability, you're able to like basically just trap card them and put the card down and stop them from using that ability. And like, there's just nothing they can do about it. There's no counterplay. So a lot of the cards in that format were draw supporters, draw Pokemon. So you had like Uxie, Claydol, Azelf was a card, Mesprit, lock to your opponents or search for your prize cards, whatever. So a lot of games would come down to, my hand's dead. All I have is a Uxie because that was the most reliable draw in the format. And that card basically stopped you from playing that. And what would happen is it would create these irregular game states where like you're supposed to be pacing your opponent, but your opponent plays Power Spray at a good time and it just destroys your whole game. There are other times where like the best card in the format and the only form of Gust was Luxray Level X. And Luxray Level X was a one of level up, and it's really hard to pull off a lot of the time because you have to be active to level it up and use that Gust. And when your opponent plays a Power Spray, it basically ruins your day. So the card was toxic in a way that I think you needed to have it at the right time under the right circumstances, and it could swing games outside an irregular or outside like a regular plane. Like games became a lot more irregular and unpredictable and kind of volatile. So that's kind of where I come from.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's like interesting because like at the same time it was a cool card because like it introduced bluffing into Pokemon, like cards you could play during your opponent's turn. Like I actually wouldn't hate if like for example like Team Rocket like they gave it this card like in the current game.
Yeah, I think if the card exists, it can't be on the best deck in the format.
Yeah,
that was the problem.
It has to be a card that like elevates an archetype to being playable instead of like you're saying like. Because like SP was already good, and then this like elevated it for sure. So yeah, that's a good card. It definitely was super.
You know where I'd actually love them to put a card like this, like one of those like undervalued like N Zoroark. Like I would love if there was like an N Zoroark Power Spray, where like Zoroark becomes like Zoroark is already good under the right metagames, right? You give it like that little boost and like just like this like cool card that allows a different way of playing the game to be assigned to that archetype. So Zoroark is already kind of like that off archetype a little bit where the game plays really differently. It's very hard to kind of learn the deck and stuff like that. I feel like Power Spray would be so cool in like one of those like N Zoroark decks. And the condition is like you have to have 4 Ns Pokemon in play. Like, you make it difficult. It's not easy to pull off, but I think that'd be so cool. Sorry, I got sidetracked.
No, you're good. Or like it was like Counter Catcher where it's like if you're losing on prize cards, you can play Counter Spray.
Yeah. Counter Spray. I like N's Counter Spray. It's got to be better than N's PP up, man. The bar's on the floor. But yeah, we can move on to yours. I actually really like yours at number 9 too. It's a card I forgot.
All right, this is like up there also with one of my like least favorite cards of all time. It's Marshadow from I forget the name of the set, but the one
I think it's Shining Legends.
Shining Legends, that's right. Its ability is Let Loose. When you play this card from your hand, both players shuffle their hand to their deck and draw 4. So it's like Judge as an ability, and like this has existed before. There's a Giratina and like a Diamond and Pearl set that has the same ability, and I think there's also is there like a Tropius that has this ability? I think there's also a Pokemon from ours, Ruby Sapphire, that has this ability. I'm not 100% sure.
Tropius.
Maybe I'm.
No, I know the Giratina from Platinum definitely had it. I don't know about Tropius, but maybe you're right.
Pokemon has it. No, I think maybe I'm just wrong. But anyways, like on the surface, this card doesn't look that broken. But the reason this card was like so toxic for the game was the player who went first would use Let Loose, and then they would have like a support Pokemon. Back then, the main one was Jirachi, which was like look at the top 5 cards of your deck and pick a trainer. So like you would basically like go second, and your opponent would just like play this, and like you're already like hand disrupted. And like the first turn of the game is so important because you need to set up and you need to, get your basics, do whatever, play your supporter. And like when you're starting with 4 cards, like there'll just be so many games where you just get let loose turn 1 and like you're like, all right, well, I just lose because like I have nothing to work with.
Yeah.
And then the person going first, like they get the option to like put support Pokemon on their board, like when they play this. So then you play it, and then it's like, okay, sweet. Like I have all my stuff. My opponent's at 4 cards. And a lot of aggressive decks would play this card. That was actually the decks that played the most. Like Zekrom Pikachu played this, or Quasar GX played this. So then like they would just get like a crazy attack on turn 2, and like their opponent's just sitting there doing nothing. So I think the card would have actually been pretty like balanced if it literally just said you cannot use this card on your first turn, or if you go first or whatever. But since it didn't, it just created like so many like bad games where it's like you just lose without playing. And the reason I hate this game is I lost my win into Day 2 at Worlds in 2018 on Game 3 to literally getting let loose and drawing nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I hate
happen.
Marshadow. So I hate this card. And it is toxic.
And what's funny about Marshadow is that like the Tina never really saw play either. No. It's just because I guess that format was so like draw Pokemon support heavy, in that sense that you could draw out of it most of the time. In this format, there was a lot of fast movers and not a whole lot of board buildup. So like this would happen, and then if you just don't have the combo in your next hand, you lose. The other thing you could do with this that was awful is like people would use it with like Chime Echo and like other cards that could just lock you from evolving or lock you from doing other stuff. So it got really toxic really fast. This did exist in a format with Professor Elm's Lecture, so you could like or sorry, not Elm's Lecture. There's another what am I thinking of?
Well, there was Professor Elm's, that was just search your deck for 3 basics or whatever. But
I don't think this one qualified because it had 70. There was another basic search card that I'm forgetting. Anyways, there was something that existed that enabled this as well.
There was like the psychic card was like discard a card and get like
right, Mysterious Treasure.
Mysterious Treasure, yeah.
Yes. So that card existed. There was Ultra Ball. There was another one.
I can't remember what the other one was, but it was just annoying.
It don't matter.
Or, yeah, it's just annoying. If I look up a list from this format, let me see.
Yeah, it was just hella annoying, man.
I think 2018 World should have this. See.
And the other thing was too, like because like the way that these decks operated, you needed a lot of combo cards in this era to really do stuff.
Like this is like one of the decks that played it the most was the Rayquaza deck.
Right. So
yeah, like 4 treasures, and then just 2 Ultra Ball.
Yeah.
And you just grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So, and then Pikarom, like the year after, would play this card. Yeah.
Did Jeff play it in his second place?
I don't think they played it like in this deck. No.
Yeah, no Marshadow.
It's not like a deck that like wants to be aggro. But,
yeah.
Yeah. So it was like a dumb card. I think like if I went and found like, let me see it, like 2019, it started picking up play here as well. The Worlds is a different format. I think I see is when Pikarom played it, right? Yeah, Pikarom played it. Yeah. After before Ultra Ball.
With 3 different three Marshadows, 2 different ones. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, like this was a deck that really used it really well, I remember. Yeah. And then like you would use
this deck was a lot of fun. I have a lot of love for this deck. As much as it was like kind of like a aggro like deck that I normally wouldn't like, I love this deck because I thought it took so much skill to properly pilot.
Yeah, I mean, I think this set, like Team Up, like the first tag team set, like the game was fine. Like it didn't ruin the game yet. Yeah. It was like the next one that ruined it. The one with all the fire.
Unbroken Bonds destroyed this game, man.
Yeah.
But you're right, because Tag Bolt, or was it Tag Bolt?
Yeah, Tag Bolt GX. Yeah.
Team Up. Sorry.
Or the set. Yeah.
The set Team Up was fine because this Zekrom was squishy. Because it only had 240 health, the game was fine. And then the moment they started giving these guys 270 on a basic, the game got pretty awful. But like 240 was doable. Like you could hit 240 back there. At least you could 2-shot it, and you're okay with 2-shotting this as a 1 project. So you're giving up 3 prizes. Yeah. So the game was really good at that point. You're right in that sense. Like you play like there's a lot of Zap Beasts, which are just like a 1 prize like cool deck that just like you love to see it. And then this deck obviously gained some points into that, but you're always 2-shotting. You're always taking 3 prizes. So I thought the game was really healthy before Unbroken Bonds as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. So so that's where my Marshadow's there.
Cool.
On
right. To the next.
My next card
number 8
is Lass.
Should it Lass?
So this is my one, I think, base set card I picked. So Lass is just like a trainer, which is just like an item back then. So it's like you and your opponent show each other your hands, then shuffle all the trainer cards from your hand into your decks. So like the reason it's toxic is because like you get to play last and control when it happens. So like you can play all your item cards first or trainer cards first. And then once you're content with your board setup, you play this, you take away all your opponent's trader cards. so then they don't get to use them before last. So like basically what happens is like you just imagine the current format if there was a card that literally said like your opponent shuffles back all their trainer cards. So like all your supporters, all your stadiums, all your items, all your tools. That's what this card does. So you can basically just like hand wipe your opponent and they have nothing and they're just living off their top deck. So it's just kind of crazy. Like I don't really have much more to add. Like it's just like a crazy card in effect. Yeah, especially.
And you can also do it after drawing cards, right? Because there's no supporters, so you could play like your Bills or Oak, and then could do this like at the end, just as like a final like screw you to your opponent.
Yes.
Crazy card, man.
I actually forgot to include some like the Team Rocket trainer cards that I hope maybe you put on your list, but if not,
I didn't actually. Okay. I forgot to.
Yeah, like there was like the Rocket Sneak Attack and like the ones that just straight up discard cards for your opponent's hand. But I mean, I just put last. This one's more iconic. And a format.
I almost like omitted that entire like time period because I'm like everything was just broken. Like it just I don't know. I almost felt bad putting something on there. But we can show them on the screen real quick.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to add this after. But yeah, like Rocket Sneak Attack was like just look at your opponent's hand and then choose a trainer and you shuffle it back. And you can play multiple. Yeah. So this card was like insane.
Crazy, man. It's like wild era. That card would be broken today.
Yes.
For mine, speaking of today, I put Iron Thorns EX, which is maybe a little bit low. I don't know. I was thinking like maybe they should go a little bit higher. I don't remember the last time like a quad deck won Worlds, if that's ever happened. But like this card is stupid in the sense that like it was nothing. It was a meme, and then it started picking up steam, started getting a little bit better, and then it won Worlds. And then now you're like, where is this card? It does, like when historians look back at this format, they're going to look at Iron Thorns EX winning Worlds and assume Iron Thorns is everywhere. That is not true. Iron Thorns doesn't exist anymore. It was good maybe in that one tournament or in that 3-month span, but the card itself was pretty unreal when you look at it. And I think we've had this conversation so many times on this podcast just because of like the recency of all this, but like that card isn't good for the game, we don't think. Like it just enabled, and now we know nothing on Fernando for winning Worlds of that. Clearly very skilled players. He's had like several good finishes since then. So it's not like, oh, a bad player won Worlds. It's not what we're saying. It's just like the card enabled people to punch above their weight a little bit sometimes. And I think that's one of the things we're looking for with the whole like toxic cards list, and like created an unenjoyable experience. The deck was literally like crushing hammer, hit you, crispy, like just stupid. And I think anyone who's played in that format can vouch for that. Even the Iron Thorns players themselves are like, this card is dumb.
Yes, I mean, as a Lugia player, I also have a lot of hate for Iron Thorns. But like you said, like it's just stupid. Like it's just like it's not even like it's like barely playing the game. It's like, all right, I attach and play crushing hammer.
Yeah, it's like the last like quad deck we saw that was that good was maybe like Quad Entei, but Quad Entei wasn't nearly that.
Quad Terrakion maybe.
Yeah,
but exactly,
I think Quad Entei came after Quad Terrakion, didn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it came a few months after.
Yeah.
So,
talking about timelines in 2013. 2012. I don't know either. 2012. You're right.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man. 13 years ago.
Cool.
Grown.
I know. It is crazy.
On to next.
Actually, so you next, we have Dusknoir from Shrouded Fable. So that's a card actually that's heavily played in our current format still. So why do you think Dusknoir is toxic?
I feel like I don't need to explain too much about this one. I feel like most of you guys know like why this card is toxic. I think it's just a little bit too good. They had to print Psyduck to directly counter it, and when a card like that comes out, that somebody is having some regrets somewhere up at TPCI or whoever's making these cards. Like when they print direct counters like that, it's tough. And I think Dusknoir is one of those cards that just like blows up boards. It gate kept a lot of decks. I think today it's relatively healthy because Psyduck exists and stuff. But I think there were points in time where it's like, this is just stupid. Especially when like Paltnor was going crazy. It's really, really, I guess it's really good in combination with like Badoo, right? I guess those two cards existing together are kind of a problem because you're able just to like lock your opponent out, and your opponent's basically playing a pseudo game of like Top Deck Simulator, trying to draw their evolutions before you can blow them up. So that's part of it. I also just think the fact that Dusclops also has the same ability to a lesser extent is a problem. The fact that it's balanced by Duskull having 60 health is good, so I think like that's why it's not higher on my list. But this is a card that I think is pretty toxic. I don't think we've ever seen a card like this that just blows itself up. It blows up the other side's board. The fact you're able to pick off bench Pokemon too, it doesn't even have to be active, is pretty crazy. So I have my gripes with this card. I've been playing it a lot recently, and I really enjoy blowing up my opponent's boards. But I understand that it's toxic. So this is a moment of self-reflection for me.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head where it's like when you like just basically blow up your opponent's board, and like it's just like a non-game basically, and your opponent can't really do much about it. So it's a good shout on that one. So
not a fan.
All right, my next card is Hex Maniacs. This is the ability lock I put on my list. So Hex Maniac is a supporter. So it's until the end of your opponent's next turn. Each Pokemon in play, each player's hand, and each player's discard pile has no abilities. This includes Pokemon that come into play on that turn. So it's just ability lock as a supporter, but the reason this was so broken and like one of the defining cards of the XY era was the Versus Seeker, which was like an item card, which was like just take a supporter from your discard and put it into your hand. So like a lot of decks could literally just play Hex Maniac every single turn for the entire game, and you could play supporters going first. And there was also a lot of like Pokemon draw, like Shaman EX, so like you didn't need to like play a draw supporter every turn, you could just play Hex. So a lot of aggro decks, especially Night March, which was like the best deck back then, played this. So you would just go like play Shaman, set up your board, Hex Maniac. And then like next turn it's like play Shaman if you need to again, Verseeker, Hex Maniac. And like you could play games where like the entire game your opponent does not get to do abilities. Like I lost top cut at the states or provincials one year because in game 3 I needed 1 turn of abilities and I was playing as Night March and my opponent did 5 Hex Maniacs on me in a row. And it was just like it was so frustrating. So it's just like unconditional ability lock just feels like too broken to me. Like I think, you know, Garbodor is like a broken card, but like it's fair because at least you have to set it up, you have to put a tool, there's counterplay. There was like no counterplay to Hex Maniac. Like you could not stop your opponent from playing this card. I just think it was crazy, crazy powerful and super frustrating to play against as well. So
I lost my win in that provincials as well to Hex Maniac, actually. And I wasn't even playing a deck that had abilities. I just had Shamans in my deck, and I just got locked out like repeatedly. It's you can see why this card is banned, right? I'm pretty sure.
And expanded, I think so.
And expanded.
Probably.
Yeah, you can see why this card is banned. I was like, when I thought about Hex Maniac, I was thinking more of like a expanded context and how just stupidly disgusting it was in that format for a little while that format existed. But yeah, you're right. This is definitely deserves to be on the list. A miss for me for sure, but I agree.
Cool. All right, my next card I put is Oranguru, which I think I could even put up higher. I think when we did our top 10 cards of all time, I think this card was on the list too. So Oranguru, it doesn't look broken on the surface, but its attack, resource management, put 3 cards from your discard pile on the bottom of your deck in any order. This basically just enabled like so many control decks back in the day. So there was one really famous one called the Pidgeotto control deck where you played this card called Reset Stamp, and like there was supporter cards like Team Jesse and James and Mars where you discard your opponent's hand to 0, and then you would play this card called Chip Chip Ice Axe, which was look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck and rearrange them in any order. Or you pick one and put that one on top. So you would play this card and you would just make an infinite loop of Chip Chip Ice Axe and like Mars to discard your opponent's hand. And your opponent would just sit there and do absolutely nothing. And that was just like the stupidest deck ever. And it got top 8 at Worlds that year. It was actually a bit of a secret deck, and then it kind of like took over. But then there was also just like Oranguru would get played in like Zora control. There's like other just random control decks. It just made it like, it was just too good of a card. And like it took away a lot of strategies from the game because your opponent could just like get back whatever they want. It was especially broken and expanded because you could combine it with all the broken cards and like supporters and Verse Seekers, but that it wasn't meant to be played with. So I don't think like Oranguru itself is toxic. I just think since there's so many control cards in this era that it came out in, it became like crazy toxic. And I think the deck that it was its main deck, like the Oranguru control, is one of the most toxic decks of all time for sure. So.
Yeah, I agree. This one's on my list, so I won't touch on it too much. Cool. But no, that's a good shout.
Cool. Okay, so your next card, Anil, is actually we're going to stick with Dusknoir. You went over Dusknoir, Diamond, and Pearl, the one with Sinister Hand.
Yeah, that's was it called Sinister Hand or was?
No, Dark Palm. Sinister Hand is the one that moves
Dark Palm. Yeah. So, anyways, you could pick a bunch of Dusknoirs for this list. They'd all be a good shout. Dusknoir with Dark Palm, I thought was a very, very good card. I obviously we started playing shortly after this card came out, so didn't get the full Dusknoir experience. But when you go back and you play 2010 or even 2009, you do feel this card and you feel it in abundance. I found that this card was healthy to an extent, and I feel like you would just get to a point where this card definitely enabled, and what I do like about this card, I'll start with what I do like, is it enabled a lot of skill. So And when you know you're playing against Dusknoir, you have to set up your board in a way that's specific to playing against Dusknoir.
Mhm.
And what Dusknoir did, for those of you who don't know, is if you had 4 more bench Pokemon, your opponent could choose one to shuffle in every turn. So this is in a format where a lot of your Pokemon are also support Pokemon. You have Claydolls on the field, you have Uxie's on the field, so you have a lot of junk. And you have to manage your attackers so that you have at least 3 possible attackers on your bench basically at any time. So this card enabled a lot of skill, which is good. But the bad part is it was really, really good. And I thought it was really, really OP at times. And it created experiences where if you ended up in a board state where, let's say you had 3 or 4 support Pokemon, you're trying to build up another one on your bench, you're using your resources to build this up. You're using your whatever your ball searchers are, your supporters, trying to build up this Pokemon. And every turn your opponent says, Dark Palm, put it back. And so I think because of that, it created kind of a toxic experience. There's arguments to be. I think this is definitely one of the most controversial ones on my list. I think there are arguments to be had whether it's toxic or healthy or whatever. But I had just felt that the card was a little bit too good.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like you basically had to play with 3 bench Pokemon the whole game, like permanently as one player. So that's a good one. All right.
And the problem was too. Sorry, not to cut you off. There's one more piece. Like the problem was too at that point is that there was no proper gust, so you could never really get rid of the Dusknoir. That was the other problem.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, yeah, back then in Diamond and Pearl, like the bench sitters were just like broken because like only really like Luxray was the good guaranteed gust. Okay, so your next card, I actually didn't put on my list, but this is actually a good one. Is the Lysander's Trump card. It got banned in Standard, which is like very, very rare to have happen. It was just a supporter card. Both players shuffle all cards from the discard back into their deck except for Lysander's Trump card. So.
Yep. When I think of this era, I think of like Pokemon being a completely different game. Like just like a completely different brand. It's like it just didn't feel like Pokemon at that point. And like the game was so aggressive, it was so fast, and like the existence of this card basically enabled decks to just do whatever they wanted with no repercussions. And so what would happen is people would just tear through their decks with 4 Shaymins, discard everything in sight. They didn't care because at the end of the day, you have Lysander's Trump card. And it enabled a whole bunch of toxic strategies. I wasn't playing enough at that time to know all of the ins and outs of what was going on here, but that's by design. Like that card literally made me want to quit the game, and I did because the card sucked, and it was just so OP to be able to shuffle in everything at your leisure as well. It's not when your opponent wants to; it's when you want to shuffle everything in and you start again. So I think the card was really broken. Obviously, it got banned, so it shows how toxic it was. And then, it was a problem and expanded, and I'm glad it never really saw the light of day past that.
Yeah, I mean, it only really became truly broken with Shaman, but like you were saying, like you like literally cycle your whole deck, play like all your broken cards. It's like, all right, Lysander Trump card, let's do it all again. And I mean, actually, no, we can go like one more for you because you put Seismitoad EX as your next one. I think Seismitoad and Lysander together were what really made like it insane. Because Seismitoad like only did 30 damage, but when you can like reuse Hypnotoxic Laser, you can reuse Crushing Hammer, you can reuse Super Scoop Up,
Headringer, like all this
stuff. Yeah, like that's when I think Trump card became too good because it just enabled like all that toxic stuff. So yeah, so like you can maybe touch on Seismitoad a bit more. I think I put on my honorable mentions. We talked about it a little earlier, but why is Seismitoad so high for you?
Yeah, I just think the reasons you mentioned. I think like the item lock combined with DCE in the format. I think the problem with Seismitoad and what we realized later is that its second attack was also really good. So like pairing like with Badoo, obviously I think they learned their lesson. Badoo's like card design is a great example of this. Like Badoo doesn't do anything besides Itchy Pollen. Nothing. Right? 30 health, free retreat, cool. Itchy Pollen, that's all you're doing. It's a liability on your bench the rest of the game. Seismitoad EX at the time was considered a bulky Pokemon, right? Like it had 180 health, which was a lot for an EX back then. That did 30 damage with its item lock, and as well had a nuke attack for 130 and then 30 to 2 Pokemon. So like this card ended up being a problem, and you combine it with Rough Seas, which is a card that healed off your Pokemon. You combine it with Super Scoop Up, which means you can pick up your Pokemon whenever you want. You combine it with Headringer, which was a card that just annoyed your opponent, and then you combine it with like all the stupidity that existed in that format, and you get a really unhealthy, unfun card. And I think for that reason, that combined with Trump card plus Shaman, Shaman's not actually on my list. I thought about it, but it's not on my list. I think those cards together illustrate pretty well why this is on my list.
Yep, I agree. Toad is definitely one of the most iconic toxic cards of all time. All right.
Yeah.
Back to me. My next card, Neil, I don't know if you put this on your list. I put Trevenant.
It's a really good one, actually.
GX. So I limited myself to 2 tag teams, so this is one of them. So on the surface, it like looks like whatever. It's like it's 3 psychics. It's attacked as 150, but it's like choose 2 random cards from your opponent's hand. Your opponent reveals them and shuffles them into their deck. The reason this was like so toxic was you would play this Milotic. This is an expanded deck. You would use Milotic, and it was you can knock it itself out and put 3 energy from your discard onto one of your Pokemon. And then there was a supporter called Ace Trainer, where it's like if you're losing, you can play this. Your opponent shuffles their hand back and draws 3. You draw 6. So you would literally just go like Milotic, Ace Trainer, Trevenant, and Dusknoir, and Nightwatch. But there was also another card in this deck that was like the Gengar and Mimikyu tag team, where the GX attack was your opponent can't play any cards in their hand. So what you'd do is you would start with that, you'd block them from playing any cards. Like they cannot set up at all. Then on your next turn, you would go Milotic, then you would Ace Trainer, and you would Trevenant. So your opponent literally just like does not play the game at all.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of cheated by putting like a whole combo here, but I guess Trevenant and Dusknoir is like the main one that goes with it. But it was like a really, really stupid combo. It like won the regional like right before, or it was like it won a regional or something like right before COVID happened. It was just like a really, really dumb degenerate combo.
Yeah, and like what's funny is the card itself actually didn't see a whole ton of play outside of that. You played a Malamar, it was good like periodically, and like the existence of Mewtwo as well kind of enabled this card, like because Mewtwo could copy Gengar, Mimikyu, and this all on the same Pokemon, which is just like again stupid. And maybe there's a conversation to be had about Mewtwo and Mew tag team. Like it's not on my list, but it's maybe there's a conversation we had about that one. It enabled a lot of junk, but yeah, no, I think you hit it right on with this one.
Honestly, we could just make a list of like top 10 most toxic tag team cards. And, like,
yeah,
they're all toxic pretty much.
That era, like there's a 5-year period between like when XY started to that era, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like this game just blows. It's horrible. This is one. You got the second one, so yeah, you can go ahead again because we stole my number 4.
All right, so I have Vileplume next. And again, like Vileplume on its own isn't like insanely broken, but it existed at the same time a card called Forest of Giant Plants, which is actually the exact same card as the one we have now. What's it called now, the card in Standard?
Forest of Vitality?
Something Forest of Vitality or something. So Vileplume's ability was each player can't play any item cards from his or her hand, but when this card existed, like you could do everything going first except attack. So like you could play supporters, you could play like items, all that stuff. So like it was very easy when you went first to just set up Vileplume. So you would set up Vileplume going first, and your opponent literally could not play item cards the whole game. Like they would just not get to play item cards. So it created a very toxic environment where there were decks that played this card where like you would like your whole deck is built to like thin your deck as much as possible, create an attacker. It was normally Vespiquen, and then you would just have this set up, and your opponent just doesn't get item cards. And a lot of games you just win because obviously if you can't play item cards turn 1, like you're just not going to set up most of the time. And yeah, I mean I don't really have much else to say. I think it's very obvious why this is toxic. It's turn 1 item lock that lasts like the whole game. So this card was insane.
This is very self-explanatory for sure. I think the people who didn't play in this era would like they would not struggle to pick up why this is disgusting. Like there are some cards in here, like maybe Stantler. Like if you didn't play that era, you're like, all right, whatever, man. Like this doesn't make any sense. This one is pretty straightforward. Like you're, I don't know. I feel like that stadium was just a mistake. That's why I was really surprised that they printed it again. But I guess this time there just isn't the support that is necessary for it. So
exactly.
Yeah, definitely a good shout.
All right. So go next to you. Next, you had
Onward.
Right, you had Laser at your number 3, Anil. Why is Laser your number 3?
Where do I start? I mean, Laser is just so you play with Burbank City Gym, right? So we touched on this a little bit. You get the plus 30 on an item card, and like for what it's worth, yeah, that's freaking good. But like that alone is cool. Whatever. Like plus power has existed. Like there are cards that have existed. My issue with this card and the reason why it's so high up for me is because of the asleep condition, like the one that you mentioned. Like it just was not necessary, should not have existed. I think sometimes the game designers do this thing where they create cards to benefit other cards. So like one common synergy I can think of in this format is like, so they play this laser card, they print this laser card, and it instantly makes Keldeo like amazing, right?
Yeah.
Because every deck now needs Keldeo EX, which had an ability that was basically like P.E.K.K.A Run except for itself. Where you rush in with the Keldeo to wipe all this asleep effect. So Keldeo being a card kind of existed because of the Hypnotoxic Laser being a card as well. So Keldeo was like turned into a pseudo support Pokemon, which then enabled other decks to get better. So like Laser made Darkrai really, really good, right?
Yep.
But Laser made Darkrai really good because a lot of Pokemon had 170 health, and Laser would bump you up to 140 if you had a Dark Claw as well. And then your Night Spirit does 30. So you could get these 4 prize turns really easily by switching these Pokemon out. And you know what has 170 HP? Keldeo. And so like I feel like all these things kind of came together at one point to create this like pseudo triangle of interactions that Pokemon does sometimes. And so like that one's a really complicated one to explain, but I think you can pick up what I'm putting down. Like, I feel like the
Yeah.
laser asleep condition created a lot of entropy for the format, and like the toxicity of it, I think goes beyond the idea of just like, oh, what if there's a 25% chance I flip heads and my opponent flips tails, and then they remain asleep for that turn. I think this goes way farther than that because it just enables these like crazy other cards to become even better or worse depending on where you're looking at. So long-winded answer for a card that doesn't need much explanation, but that's kind of where I'm coming from with that one.
Yeah, I mean, your 5-4-3 was Trump card, Seismitoad, Laser, and those all three actually
Yeah,
combined to like become insanely broken. Okay, and then your number 2 is a card
disgusting.
I had earlier on my list was the Oranguru, the one that puts 3 cards at the bottom. So we touched on it already, but do you have anything to add why Oranguru is like so high for you?
Not really. I think you hit it really well. I think the other card that really got it to the next level too was Articuno GX. That was a card I had a huge problem with too. The GX deck literally said discard your opponent's active Pokemon, so you just
Or
sit
their
there with your
energies, yeah.
Oranguru or
Right?
their energy. Sorry, yeah. Was there energies or was it their whole
It
Pokemon?
was energy. There was Garchomp and Giratina, which I considered put on the list.
Hmm.
That was discard your opponent's Pokemon.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's also Lugia GX, which did something like somewhat similar.
Shuffle it back into the deck.
Right. Yeah. So like Articuno GX for 1 energy, you discard all the energy. So you can see how you can create this like kind of toxic strategy. So I think Oranguru, you hit it well. Those partners you mentioned obviously do bits for it. The fact it was played in Zoroark control as well was kind of crazy. Like you just play Zoroark to draw back all your cards anyways. And I think it just like came out at a bad time. And I wonder, I would like give every bone in my body to be in that like Pokemon like I don't know like war room where they're like making new cards and like seeing that panic when like a card becomes broken and to know if they anticipated for that to happen or not, or like, was this by design? Did someone print a Oranguru as an uncommon, thinking that I need to make this card relevant, not knowing that it was going to completely break the format and in like the game and break the whole game at some point too, right?
Yeah.
I like, I don't know. I think about that so frequently. I'm like, card design is such a fascinating thing to me, and I would love to know what was happening with that one.
Yeah, I think they definitely did not think it would be as good as it was. Same with Monkey Dory.
Yeah.
So I guess when they make Monkey Pokemon, they have trouble guessing the power level. So.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Cool. Okay, next up, and we'll go to my 3 and 2, and then we'll get. Actually, we both have the same number 1, so it's perfect. Okay, so I kind of cheated on this one. I literally just picked Sableye because I think it has 3 crazy toxic cards for different reasons. So the first one is the one from Stormfront. Where its ability was like you can go first if you start with this, like you don't even like flip that you override the coin flip. And we talked about in the pod before, and like a lot of people have done history videos on this one where it's like they for whatever reason changed the rules when Black and White came out that you could attack going first, you could play items, you could do whatever you want. So you would just play this card and you would just like donk your opponent turn 1. They had to like emergency rotate the game like to Black and White on, or to Heart Gold on, because of because Sableye was too good. Instead of just being like, oh, we messed up, why do we change the rules? So this card literally forced the only ever emergency rotation in the history of the game. So that's why that Sableye is on there. The next Sableye I put was the one that has Junk Hunt, which was put 2 item cards from your discard pile into your hand. This is more of an expanded thing, but there's a lot of super toxic decks, like a Sableye Garbodor deck, where like you would just continuously get like disruption cards from your discard, like things that remove energies, things that control your opponent's top deck, kind of like that Chip Chip Ice Axe. And Sableye eventually got banned. And there was a card called Puzzle of Time, where if you had 2 of them and you played them at the same time, you could pick any 2 cards from your discard and put them in your hand. So you would Sableye for those, and you could just infinitely loop. So that's why that one was broken. And then the last
and not to mention, sorry, not to cut you off, but you'd also recycle A-Specs.
Yes, you could recycle A-Specs too, that's right. So it was just like insane. I played that deck to 1 regional. I got top 32 in Hartford 2019. It was actually really fun to play, horrible to play against. Because kind of like what I said with the Oranguru before, there was also like a top deck control aspect of that Sableye deck. And then the last Sableye I put was the Lost Mine one. This is definitely the least toxic of the 3. But I do think Lost Mine really made it hard for a lot of setup decks to exist in the format. I mean, putting 12 damage counters just like knocked out the basics, right? Like we're in an era where like all the little Pokemon had like 60 or 70 health, and Sableye would just put so much pressure on them. And then like if you tried to like reestablish them, like they would just go Lost Mine again and like knock out like the little one, knock out the big one. So I don't know. I just thought Lost Mine was too good against the basic Pokemon in the format. I think it kept a lot of single prize decks for sure. So
Yeah, I think that was the only time that we had an unconditional 12 damage counter spread wherever you wanted. Because even the
yes,
Blacephalon was like only 3 or 4 prizes, and like there
yeah,
were always limitations on this for a reason. And like you can argue, like, yeah, there's a limitation put on here. You need to have 10 or more in the Lost Zone,
that
but
was
once
not
you get
hard.
there, you're you're smooth sailing. Especially in a format with like Lost Vacuum, and like there was a point in time where like that Super Turbo, like Lost Box was running around, where everyone was just going crazy. You had like turn 2 Lost Mines, like just like nonsense. And like I agree with you on that front. Like I think that Sableye is definitely like the questionable one of the three to be on the list, but I think in its time, I think it was toxic. I think it ruined a lot of game states. Sure, yeah, skilled card, cool. We love playing skilled cards, right? But yeah, I don't love that one either.
Yeah.
But I think your first two are right on the money, and like that impersonate Sableye is just I don't know what they were thinking with that one.
Yeah, I mean, like, that Sableye for me is the real one that should be number 3, and I just put the other two
Yeah.
Sableyes just because they're also like there. Okay, and then my number 2 is Slow King. We've talked about this one
Mm,
before. I mean, it got mistranslated, so like that's why, but they didn't fix it really right away.
mhm.
So its ability was just whenever your opponent plays a trainer card, flip a coin. If heads, that card does nothing. Put it on top of your opponent's deck, and it's stacked. So like you could basically make it so that your opponent, every time they want to play a trainer, has to like have a
Yeah,
50-50, or they have like a 25% chance or a 12.5% chance. So imagine how frustrating that would be to just like every time you want to play a card, you basically have to flip to play it. And then you don't lose it, it goes back to the top of your deck, but like unless you have like a way to draw them back right away, like you can't get it. Then even if you get it back right away, you have to flip again to try and use it. So I mean, I don't really think I have much to add. I think it's very obvious why this card is like insanely
yeah,
broken. Uh,
yeah.
and it was definitely one of the most broken cards of all time, as well as being one of the most toxic cards of all time. So
I think that embodies toxicity. It
yeah,
embodies it. Like that's like this is like our poster boy of this list. It's like I don't know, man. It's cool to like have these cards that just induce random effects, but I think like toxicity and randomness are so like tightly aligned in
yes,
Pokemon that like this is just too much random. You know, like when those like anti-gambling ads come on, they're like random is always in play. Like that's kind of what this feels like. It's like sometimes you need to be talked off the ledge of like too
yep,
much random is not good. And I think that's what this is. This is just like nonsense, straight up nonsense. So
yeah, I
I'm glad you
agree.
included this because I completely forgot about this one. So
Nice.
good shout.
All right, then we'll go number 1, Neil. You and I both picked the same card. I don't think people
Yep,
listening to that
shocker.
surprised. We have
Yeah,
ADP. I think this was like the game was already heading in the wrong direction. I think this just like
yeah,
accelerated it to like 1,000 with the Altered Creation GX. For the rest of the game, your Pokemon's attack do 3 more damage. If you have 2 energy or at least 1 extra water, you take an extra prize card every time you take a knockout. So what are your thoughts? Why is this the most toxic card ever?
it was the worst card they ever printed. I don't think there's much doubt about that one. It's just how like who approved this? Where's QA? Like what are you guys doing over there, bro? Like I don't get it. We've ranted about this card so many times in the pod before. It's just so stupidly broken. And like, thank God COVID happened. Maybe that was like the only positive thing to ever come out of COVID is that we never got to see this card win Worlds. What a piss off of a card, though, man. I don't have much more to say about it. I feel like we've ranted about this card so many times.
Yeah, it like basically single prize decks unplayable, and then whenever you play against, you're not going to tag team. You take 4 prize cards. So you're like the game just like goes super quickly. Its
Yeah,
attack was super good too. Like it's not even that just the GX attack was good. Its normal attack was good. It was just like it was just so bad for the game. Like it accelerated the game, made the games too quick. When there's less turns in the game, there's less decisions, there's less skill, it's less fun, and it would just like snowball out of control. Whoever got to use this first, like normally would just win the game. So
yep,
yeah, just a horrible card. I hope whoever designed this card that their pillow is warm on both sides every night. This
yeah,
card is
exactly.
horrible.
Yeah, and you played it with Zacian, and Zacian V came out with Metal Saucer, and
Yeah,
it turned like guys like so many people started playing this game after COVID, right? There's like I would say out of our listeners, probably 50% of them started after COVID, if not
probably
more,
more, bro.
right?
Probably it's
Probably,
like 80%
yeah,
plus. I think with
yeah.
the way the game's growing.
Guys, there were some dark ass times in this game, man. Like this, this is like if this happened while y'all were around, like this would be outrageous today. Like if this card leaked and I don't know, it was rumored to come out in a future set, Twitter would blow up. There'd be so many people rage quitting the game, all that stuff, and like I think it happened at that point too. But just like the player base was so much smaller that you didn't really notice the difference. Like the tryhards and the sweaty guys really just stuck with it. But these days, like I think you'd see a big drop off. Like if this card became
Yeah.
the best card in the format, if it was reprinted, I don't think we were selling out our regionals anymore. Like it was that bad. So like I think there's a lot of context that needs to be put into like showing cards like this. It's like the format was already bad. Like it was already welder infested. There was Mewtwo's everywhere, like Reshizards, but it almost felt like they didn't recognize the problem or they wanted to take the game in a completely different direction and they just went even farther deeper with this one. And then right when you thought they learned their lesson, they printed VMAXs, which is also like a 3 prize nonsense. And, like to be honest, I'm kind of surprised none of us had a VMAX on here.
Because like they weren't toxic cards, it was just stupid game design. It was like my opinion.
Yeah.
Like
it was just terrible game design. And like I don't think I agree with you. I don't think they were toxic. I think there was a point in time where you could argue that Mew was toxic, but yeah, I don't know, they eradicated that. But yeah, so like the game was going and shifting in just a dark direction. It just kept getting darker and darker and darker until like COVID happened. They had VMAXs, no one played the game, and I think that was kind of a blessing for us because I don't know how the trajectory of Pokemon would have continued. Like if people were supporting the game when there's 3 prizes active like this and COVID didn't happen and people were at tournaments like just like as the Pokemon brand grows, people just come and play and they don't know the history of the game. Maybe people will just start to accept that like Sent to Scorch VMAX is the future of the game. Like maybe that's where the game goes after this if COVID doesn't happen. So like, Loki, shout out COVID, put us back in like the way God intended Pokemon to be played, bro. Because like it was looking bleak there for a while.
yeah.
Rant over. Sorry.
No, you're fair. I mean, people still played like after COVID when there was like a Palkia running everywhere and like VMAXs. But the game like now is like truly exploded and like the game is really good. So I honestly think like the game being fun and being really balanced and really really good is part of what makes it so appealing. So
the game is awesome right now.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, let us know in the comments which card we missed. Which one's your most toxic card of all time? This is normally very biased from Anil and I, based on like what cards we don't like.
Oh yeah,
and we forget some for sure. So yeah, let us know your thoughts down below for sure.
Yeah, let us know what we missed, I don't know. I think there's some stuff that we should have ranked better as well. I think there are definitely some gaps, and I think there will be a card that comes out like later on today or whenever we post this. So someone will tweet or post at us. We'll be like, "Oh yeah, that." There's just so many different cards that we could have hit on. But yeah, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. If you don't mind, go check out both of our channels. Subscribe here if you're new. Yeah, leave us down below. We love interacting with you guys. I don't think we have much else to show today. We'll be back to some regularly scheduled programming next week with like boring meta stuff.
I don't know if we will, to be honest, bro. There's nothing happening this week again. Like I think you guys need to tell us like what topics we need to make.
I have some more history we can do. Actually, we can do some more history.
All right.
I got some stuff.
Get some stuff in the tank and figure it out. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good. Let us know down below if you have any ideas for us. But as always, thank you for being here, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Later.